Big move in Bitcoin then, in contrast to all the notes I wrote pre-show, which were telling me that this was going to put Bitcoin under pressure.
The narrative that perhaps this launch of these political meme coins will sap flows from Bitcoin is showing us that it's really not the case this morning. If anything, it's just accelerated the momentum and the excitement around cryptocurrency under another Trump
Hello.
administration.
Hi, Dewald. What is all this FOMO about? Should I buy Bitcoin now?
Are you smoking your socks? You should rather watch my show. You should rather watch my show.
All right, legends, welcome to another live stream here on a Monday morning. We actually got some nice volatility over the weekend. And these are some of the scenarios I want to discuss. It's not often. It's estimated that 79% of Saturdays, specifically Saturdays and Sunday mornings, are range bound. And then this Saturday, we got some nice volatility here to the downside. Right now, the question is the low in? This is what everyone wants to know. Is the low in, and can we continue momentum back to the upside? This structure can be counted as a 5-wave structure to the upside. Was this the correction that's going to send us higher? Right, legends, we will go and analyze the highest probable scenarios. And I mean, I hate to break it to everyone, but for now, the probabilities does not look good for the bulls, right? It's not to say that we can't get a bounce, but the probabilities at the moment looks better for downwards momentum. But we can go and assess that probability and also see, well, if we do break to the downside, where is the most important levels of support where we could potentially find that nice, insane bounce back to the upside? Right, legends, remember to smash up that like button. If you're not already subscribed, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, okay, because this is where we do pure technical analysis. I will also discuss in this range. I entered a trade on Friday, and I was still expecting, okay, we can go through what happened on Friday. Got stopped out with a little bit of profits in the bag. I didn't take a lot of profits, but at least I got stopped out with some profits in the bag. And then Saturday just kept on tumbling to the downside. Sunday morning kept on tumbling to the downside. And now have we made the low? Have we made the low? A little bit of a confusing structure here at the moment, but we are going to make sense of what is going on here. Okay, right, legends. I mean, this was the trend, right? We were all hoping for the breakout over here. I did say that I would prefer not to have a fake out, because then you increase the probabilities of taking the low. Okay, and with the momentum now here to the downside, everyone is right. And I've got the red pen over here because things looks bearish, right? Things looks bearish as hell. So let's just use the red pen and add to the bearishness at the moment. Okay, let me say hi to the beautiful community. I smashed the like button on the way in. Welcome to the live stream. Frank, hi Dewald and all. Hello. Hi Dewald George, good afternoon. Irina, welcome to the live stream. Talma, always great to see you here. Dewald, I signed up on weeks through your link, but the offer is not available in India. You'll have to escalate that to the support team on weeks. I wasn't aware of any restrictions, but perhaps in your country there are some restrictions, so you can just send a mail to the support team on weeks and they will sort you out and let you know what's going on. Okay, Good question. Dewald, for the start of alt season, does any major news force is required? Usually, okay, I saw someone else ask the question as well. What typically sparks an altcoin season during every single bull run? It is, unfortunately, the money printer needs to go on. The US needs to start printing money out of thin air, and that is usually that sparks risk on assets to go absolutely bananas, right? So, and we could have different catalysts, but that's usually the main catalyst, is that in order to prevent a recession, okay, if things really starts looking bad, to prevent a recession like what happened during COVID, okay, the world came to a standstill. What happened? They started printing money out of thin air, and that sparked risk on assets to go absolutely ballistic, right? So we need the money printer to go on. Basically, that's what it means in a nutshell. Like on 2nd April, there's something. Yes, 70K. Mike, you believe that we're going to find support at 70K? Ooh, there's definitely a possibility, right? Waiting. Can this be impulse, be contracting? Mr. No Financial Advice, welcome here to the live stream. And always appreciate the mods helping out with the moderation here on the channel. Right, Dewald, please answer my question. Do you remember the start of alt season? I think I have answered that question. Edward, lekker Dewald, nou gaan ons leer. Yes, I'm here to educate, right? I am currently in a small little long position, and I've highlighted that long to the Legend Pro community. Almost got stopped out, but then price turned around and it found some more upwards momentum. There's a chance that we could find higher momentum from where we are right now, but it is a little bit frustrating that we did not bounce in a very critical area that I was keeping an eye on. Okay, legends, let's start with the technical analysis. Okay, no, it's definitely not going to recover. BTC has death cross, right? You guys have to remember, okay, this is a very, very interesting topic. A death cross, you have to remember, and what is the other one? It's the death cross and the bullish cross. I can't remember what it's called, but they are lagging indicators. Usually when you see a death cross, okay, most of the damage has already been done. It's a lagging indicator. It's not a death cross that sparks the start of a bear market, for example, and we're going to go down with another 300%. Okay, usually if you go and backtest death crosses, you will see that typically when they start printing, most of the damage was already done. You can still find a little bit of more downwards momentum, but typically price then starts retracing back into the death cross. And that is the decision moment. We've had a couple of death crosses even during this entire bull market that we've seen here to the upside, and it typically actually sparked the bottom where momentum continued to the upside. So the death cross for me is a lagging indicator, right? I see everyone on social media is talking about this death cross, but at the end of the day, I trade the technicals in front of me. I practice good risk management. I long support. I take profits at resistance. Currently in a small little long trade here at the moment. And I will show you guys now where I do plan to take profits. My position is protected, so if I get stopped out, I don't lose anything. And we can go and analyze this little local structure in a moment. Okay, cool. Legends, first up is I want to stay here on the 4-hour time frame and just discuss, well, if things get bad, how bad is it going to get? And if things get good, how good is it potentially going to get? Okay, so let's zoom out, look at Bitcoin here on the larger time frame, and just go and paint out the different types of scenarios that could potentially play out. Okay, first scenario is a WXY that's going to end in a triangle. Okay, and in this little triangle, if I zoom into this little structure, so we have basically, without, guys, just ignore all the noise. Just look at the blue line. Look at W. You have formed an ABC in W, and there's the chance that you could now form a triangle A, B, C, D, E in an X wave, and then you break down. So there's a chance for upwards momentum. Remember what I'm saying right now. There's a chance for a retracement before we get the dump. Okay, and it's the retracement that I'm now trading at the moment. Okay, then looking at the same structure, okay, there's a chance that the X could be in over here and we're not going to form the triangle. The triangle is done. Well, it's not done. It's not a triangle. It's basically an A, B, C, okay, a running flat in an X. And we are going to continue momentum to the downside to complete the Y wave. The rule for this scenario, I don't think it particularly carries high probabilities, because running flats where you have an A, B that takes the low, C does not take the high, usually carries lower probability. But it is a scenario that could play out. Okay, so what you now want to see in your Y wave is a zigzag, a lightning bolt. You want to see a lightning bolt, A, B, C. Okay, the rule for this scenario is that the Y wave has to take the low of the W, has to take it. At least minimum requirement is that it takes this low. Okay, but it can go down a little bit lower. And I can go and measure out that target. So you take a trend-based fib from the high to the low of W to the high of X. The minimum requirement, like I've said, for Y is to take the low. Okay? The minimum target, trend-based fib target, is the 0.618, which is $69,111. That is a Y wave target. But now, what you want to see in a Y wave is a zigzag. So I'm still looking for a retracement. Okay. Right, whether we go down a little bit lower and then we do the retracement, I'm looking for a lightning bolt to the downside to go and complete the Y wave. But there's also that E scenario that ends over here. Remember, A, B, C, D, E, which then puts the X wave also. So whether the X wave is over here or whether the X wave is over here, in both scenarios, I'm expecting a retracement. Do you guys see? This is now when I start building confluence. Okay, both bearish case scenario, whether the X is here or whether the X is here, I'm looking for a retracement. Okay, so this could potentially be an epic shorting area here. You know, when we get the retracement, it could be an epic short here to the downside. Right. Okay, legends, this is one of the scenarios that I'm keeping an eye on. Someone also mentioned, Dewald, what about the contracting diagonal here to the downside? Yes, that one is definitely still in play. Okay, I have often spoken about this scenario. There's two scenarios over here. Okay, just want to take this fib out, this parallel channel out the way. Just want to clean up the trends. Let's just focus on this little scenario over here. Okay. There we go. Okay, there's a chance that we are forming a contracting diagonal. Okay, all of this can be counted as a 1, or you can count this in a most bullish case scenario. Okay, a bearish case scenario is you count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you count all of this as a wave 1, this is very bearish. Because after you complete a 5-wave structure to the downside, if all of this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it can even be, and I don't want to confuse people too much, it could also be 1, 2, this is 3, 4, 5. It can extend a little bit where the third wave is not in. It still needs to be made, still another lower high. You know, you basically just continue the triangle here to the downside. But if the point that I'm trying to make over here is if all of this is wave 1 to the downside, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's going to find support here at the bottom somewhere, around about $69,000. You then expect a 3-wave retracement and continuation to the downside. This, ladies and gentlemen, basically equals bear market. Okay. Then there's the then there's the bullish case scenario, looking at exactly the same corrective structure where we formed an A, B, and this is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The difference between the two is that if you count this as an A, B, C, basically, so all of this becomes C, then it's a bullish retracement because it's a 3-wave structure retracement, and your C wave ends in a contracting diagonal, which means after it is done, it equals bull market back to the upside to go and claim the all-time highs and maybe beyond. Do you guys see the structure or the similarities between the two structures? Okay. Never easy, but I'm just going through the scenarios over here just to show everyone, well, where can we go to? Okay. And those are basically the bearish case scenarios. It's that it's either a ABC that still needs to finish, or it's that W, X, Y. Okay. But they all have the same target. Regardless of what happens over here, if price falls and it claims the low, the target is $69,111. So 69,111 from a simplicity perspective. Okay, and the long trade, and we can go and analyze this local structure in a moment. The long trade that I'm in is now to play the retracement. Okay, right. Now, legends, let's switch off these scenarios and zoom in to the local structure that we have formed here on the 1 hour time frame. Okay. Here we go. I just want to make sure something. Okay, right, legends, remember to smash up that like button. Happening. Okay, bear market starting this early. Yeah, I mean, it would be Digitalk. It would be very strange for the bear market to start this early. I do see a lot of people talking about the bear market. I mean, just interesting. You know, my brother was here on Friday and I asked him his opinion. What does he think is going to happen? And his main scenario is this one, you know, and it's all about observing the price reaction when we do hit those targets. Is that my brother agrees with me that we are at least going to make one more high. This one. Right. He says, right, this is his scenario, and this is also for me the scenario that carries the highest probability at the moment. Until we get here, okay, in this zone, until we get here, I might switch probabilities based on something that needs to happen. But until then, my highest probable scenario is that we have finished potentially a 5th wave. So this could be the start of the bear market, and all of this that has been forming here to the downside is a A wave. Okay, then you go back up for a B flat. You go and complete a B wave, which takes the high. Bull market is back. Round about $120,000, round about $120,000, okay, is where you want the B wave to reject. And then you go down for a C wave. A, B, C, 3-wave corrective structure that basically corrects this entire bull market that we've had to the upside. It corrects itself in a 3-wave structure, and then this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be an epic long back to the upside. Because guess what? If this scenario had to play out where this is the high, and we correct in a corrective structure a B flat and a C flat that takes the A and the B that takes the high, so I know that most analysts are still expecting one more high. Well, let me put it that some analysts are expecting one more high. Okay, most people believe that we're just going to fall and the high is in. Right, but after you form, and I need to zoom out for this one. Okay, So let's just draw this out properly, legends. Let's draw this out properly. Let me put in the ABC and put it in the folder so next time we know how to talk about this. A, B, C. Okay, let's switch on the line over there. It's always good just to take stock of where we are from a macro perspective. This is currently the scenario that carries the highest probability. Okay, 5 wave structures completed to the upside, and we're going to get a flat corrective structure that still takes the high, and the C that takes the A wave. Okay, I don't know how deep this A wave is going to go, but once the bottom is in and we start claiming some critical levels to the upside, then I will know, okay, that is the end of A. A can be a 5 wave structure to the downside. It can also be a WXY, like we're forming right now. Okay. Cool, legends. If this is the scenario, now you have to remember, okay, when you form 5 wave structures to the upside and you have a 3 wave corrective structure, you make a higher low because you have 5 waves. What happens after this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is that is the wave that you want to be in. That is the most impulsive, most explosive wave in Elliott wave theory. So if this scenario had to play out, you are basically looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the wave that you want to be in, the third wave, after the 2 is done. But remember, you form a higher low. So if price had to reject, and it doesn't even have to create a B flat, because you could also have an A, B, C that does not take the high. There's a chance, but it has to be said, although this is the highest probable scenario, okay, it has to be said that it's going to invalidate every single model from a 4-year cycle perspective that we have for crypto and for stocks and equities and risk on assets. It's going to invalidate those models. The pi cycle indicator will be invalidated. For the first time in history, there's a lot that will be broken. And for the first time in history, we are going to get a 3-wave corrective structure starting basically a bear market without the pi cycle indicator, without the timing 4-year cycle indicator. Models is going to be broken. Okay. Right, so that is definitely something to keep in mind, is to say that, well, if we're starting a bear market, it's for the first time in history that we have started a bear market, and it will also be the first time in history that everyone has called the bear market to perfection. Because everyone is talking about the bear market. Everyone is talking about the S&P, the NASDAQ, everything is crashing. Trump is stuffing up the economy. The death cross is on the horizon. Do you guys, and I have to pose that question because, when there's a lot of fear in the market, everyone believes it's the start of the bear market. Okay, so I'm not sure what your sentiment is at the moment, but do you believe, because I know for a fact, every single bull market to the upside, whether it be S&P 500, whether it be Tesla stocks, any stock or commodity that has created euphoria to the upside, okay, no one has been able to accurately predict the top. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4% of top analysts has been able to do that as part of their trading strategies. But the sentiment in the market, it's very rare for me that everyone has successfully called the top over here. It just doesn't make sense, because I remember when we were here, everyone screamed for $10,000. Okay, that usually signals the end of the bear market. When everyone wants the price to go down, when you are at the lowest point and everyone believes the majority, okay, sentiment, that the price is going down lower, you have most likely formed the bottom. When you reach the top and everyone, sentiment, okay, believes we are going higher, $100,000, you have most likely reached the top. Now the difference is, everyone is calling for the top. Do you guys see why I'm still expecting at least one more high? You need sentiment, okay, to scream for higher levels before you can successfully call the top. Right, I hope this makes sense, legends. You know, I think from a sentiment perspective, the top is not in, right? I'm still expecting at least one more high, okay, and this is perhaps the B flat to the upside. Because I think once we claim the all-time high and people start screaming for a $500,000 Bitcoin or $300,000 Bitcoin, then we can start talking, you know, and there's a lot that needs to happen here before I will start calling for a bear market, but I will tackle those situations once we get here. Okay, right, cool, legends. Let's go back here into the local price action. So I just want to throw these things into my folder so I've got it for next time. Come on, drag down. Okay, I'll do it after the live stream. For now, I'll just switch this off. Okay. Right, legends, and remember to smash up that like button. Okay, currently, let's see. Okay, let's go here onto the 15-minute time frame. Now, the most important question: what is happening here more locally? Okay, you can see here on the 15-minute time frame. Okay, so death cross this week would be bottom of bear retracement. We'll have to see how price responds and reacts. I have often seen, and perhaps do yourself a favor, go and backtest the back crosses, and I will do the same, and maybe I'll do a live stream about it tomorrow. Go and backtest all the death crosses that has happened since the inception of Bitcoin, and look at what happened during every single death cross. Did it start a bear market? Was it perhaps the end of something and the start of something new? Okay, what I do know about death crosses, okay, for example, is if you have that death cross that takes place where they cross, basically, okay, the death cross, usually, and price is, you know, falling here to the downside. Price is falling here to the downside. Often what happens is, I have seen this, and you can go and back test it. Price likes to retrace back into the scene of the crime, into the death cross. It likes to go back into the death cross. And then now this is the question: what's going to happen? Is it going to reject, form a higher low, and then continue, which I have seen, or is it going to start a bear market? Right, we've had a couple of death crosses during this entire bull cycle, and that during this bull cycle, each and every single death cross has signaled a bottom. Okay, currently getting the breakout here to the upside, and this is basically the trade that I wanted to play here to the upside. Well, with that, I am playing here to the upside. Let me just see if I'm still in the trade. Yes, I'm still in the trade. So, I mean, legends, this was not an easy trade, and if we can close, okay, this is just pure support and resistance, okay? If this candle can close above resistance, this will be an RS flip. So if the candle can close above, perhaps you come back for a retest, and then it continues momentum to the upside, right? We also have a naked point of control, which is my TP area. TP1, basically, we have a naked point of control inside of this range, and I want to see how price is going to react over here, because it could reject and go back down and claim the lows. So I have entered over here, this little retracement. That is where I got into the trade, which I explained to our Legends Pro community this morning, how I got in, where did I put my stop loss, and now when I saw the momentum and the grind up here, I protected my position. Okay, and now we're currently getting some upwards momentum. And this is a simple trading strategy from you break resistance, you close the candle above, okay? That is usually continuation to the upside, and usually the pivots are your profit taking area. But I want to get out of the trade before the police comes. Can it go higher? Of course. Okay. I'm just the type of trader that like to long support and take profits at resistance. But I think this will be a TP1. I will definitely leave some of the position open for higher levels, because that's, that retracement on every single bear market structure, I'm looking for a retracement. So this retracement could get nice and juicy here to the upside, even hitting $85,000, $86,000. Right. Okay, cool, legends. That's basically the trade that I got into. And then also from a trend line perspective, this was the trade that I highlighted this morning to our Legends Pro community. It got very, very choppy here at the trend. I'm not going to lie. Very choppy, very difficult. Okay. And my stop loss was here. And literally we turned around before we hit my stop loss. Okay. And as we broke trend again, and we formed this consolidation area, this is where I decided to protect my position because I entered with this retracement. Right, so now I have a free trade to the upside. TP1, that's my TP1. If I get stopped out, I don't lose any cash. Okay. Right, legends. So now it looks like we potentially are successfully breaking trend here to the upside. And now the question is, this little structure, okay, now this is where it gets complex. This little structure that we have formed here to the downside, has it come to an end? And can we find a little bit more of upwards momentum, perhaps to find consolidation or a rejection inside of this consolidation area? Okay, the retracements, when we made this dump here to the downside, I think this is where I did my Friday late update. I said, Legends, I'm expecting a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want a deeper retracement to go down for a 3, 4, 5. And the retracement was very short-lived. And, you know, we all know, or we should all know by now, that we take the stairs to the upside. Okay, Bitcoin likes to take the stairs to the upside, right? The stairs to the upside, and then it jumps out the window to the downside, right? And it was quite, you know, when I see this, when I start doing some FIP retracements, when I take a FIP from the high to the low, even to this low, we tapped the 2 point, the 0 point, the minimum requirement for a retracement. Very shallow, but at least it's tapping the minimum requirement. Very rare, but I often do see it in aggressive momentum to the downside. Hardly do I ever see it to the upside, but to the downside, I see the minimum target tapped very often. Also, when you take a FIP to this bottom, you also tapped the 2.36. Okay, this is, I was expecting a higher retracement to at least the 382 and 50%. You're basically tapping the top of the trend, you're rejecting in this zone, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I wanted to get in here for an epic, to play this leg to the downside. Okay, and then look how shallow the retracement was, 0.236. But we did tap the FIP level to perfection and got the rejection over Saturday. Okay, I got stopped out because I did share. I actually, me and my brother scalped the 10-second time frame over here. I did get in on the 10-second time frame. I paid myself a little bit to the upside. I protected my position, and I got stopped out on Friday night, Saturday, I can't remember. Somewhere in the zone, I got stopped out, and then I enjoyed my weekend with friends and family, and now I'm looking for some new trading opportunities, of which I am now in a long and currently getting the breakout here to the upside. Okay, so legends, it's about getting into trades, okay, and protecting your capital so that if you are wrong, okay, you don't lose significant amounts of cash. Most important, okay, this morning during the Legends Pro community, now this is the structure, okay, this is a very confusing structure here to the upside. So from a bullish case perspective, Legends, and remember to smash up that like button, okay, and also if you'd like to come and trade with me, links for the exchanges that I use where you qualify for the biggest sign-up bonuses and lowest trading fees is on weeks. You get 50% cash back, maximum of $1,000. Okay, so if you deposit $2,000, you get $1,000 cash back to trade with, but you also get 25% discount on your trading fees. They've also started the competition, and I am currently here in a week's trade. Okay, let me show you guys, because I told everyone that I'm going to throw more capital into my week's account because I want to start moving some volume. Right, let me just show everyone over here. Okay, here's the trade that I'm currently in. Oh, position needs to be protected. Okay, here's the trade that I'm currently in. Okay, need to manage my trade. difficult to manage a trade when you're doing a live stream. But anyways, position protected, planning to take profits over here. And I did throw a little bit more money into my week's account because I want to start moving some volume. I want to participate in this competition. Okay. And to grab my share of up to $800,000, we are trading together as a team, and the Bitcoin Census team. And the more volume we move, or the better our P&L, because there's a price for either or, right? Then we can stick our fingers there in the cookie jar and claim our prize. So I want to make sure I'm going to at least do my part. Okay, so for whoever is inside of the Bitcoin Census team, that, you know, we can push up the trading volume and the P&L. So I wanted to throw a little bit more money in there so I can move a little bit more volume so that we can start climbing up the ranks. Okay, so, and now I'm currently here in a trade. Okay, $91 in profit. TP1 is almost, well, TP is almost there. Okay, Legends, if I was not in the live stream, I would not have my TP zone set. Okay, I would just market execute my TPs as we hit those levels. But for now, while I'm in the live stream, I don't mind getting a full position close over here and looking for a next trading setup, because I know there's always another trade around the corner. Right, okay, Legends, and then also Bluffin. And all you need is an email and a password to sign up with all three of these exchanges. Bluffin, 10% cash back on the money that you deposit in your features account, and you also get that wheel that you can spin every time you move $10,000 within volume. Right, Phoenix, up to $2,000 airdrop. Okay, by signing up with an email and a password, and you can start trading in minutes. And these are the three exchanges that I use to do my day trading. Okay, let's get back into the action. Ooh, TP1 is almost going to get hit over here. Right, go TP1, go. There we go, there we go. Did my TP get hit? Almost. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Right, did it get hit here on? Yes, it did get hit. Okay, Legends, so for me, okay, so I don't stress about the trade while I'm doing the live stream over here. I'm just going to take profits. $143 profits. Happy with the profits today. That's my day trade for the day here on the week's account. Okay, right, Legends, and you can see we got the instant rejection at the naked point of control. So I'm not going to risk it. Can we continue higher? Of course. But this was the day trade that I was looking for this morning. Just this little momentum to the upside. I did highlight to the Legends that yes, TP1, TP2, but this is an interesting zone. Okay, so on my week's account, I have this trade running on another account as well. Okay, so that's just on the week's account, right? You could still come and hit the highs over here, and you can still come and hit the highs over here, and even this naked point of control. Okay. So interesting about these levels here to the upside is that when you take a fib from this pivot to the lows, you can also see how nicely the 382 aligns with these highs. The 50% aligns with these highs. The 382 and 50% are always good TP areas. Okay. Right, Legends. I think if we're going to tap the 0.618, at least then we invalidate the fifth wave here to the downside, but I mean, it can still be a rejection, okay? Because there's a lot of liquidity lying over here. If I go and look at the liquidity heat map, okay? Let me put my head on the other side so everyone can, oops, let me just change the screen. There we go. Right, if I look at the liquidity heat map and we go to the 3-day chart. There's a lot of liquidity here by $86,000. Okay, so on the other account where I've also got the trade, I'm definitely leaving some of the position open for this area over here. Definitely leaving some of that position open. Right, Legends. Now, okay, just had to manage my trades. Okay, my longs are getting wrecked. Long from 85 to 100. Ooh. Should have had a stop loss. Okay, Mr. Godfather, welcome to the live stream, by the way. Right, long from 85 to 100. Okay, yeah, guys, you need to. I feel so sad when people don't trade with stop losses. I mean, you know, guys, when I was here on Friday, when we were here, okay, and I said I want price to go higher to tap the 382 or the 50%, and we rejected by the 2.36, my position was protected. I don't want the stress of, oh shit, when are we going to turn around? Because remember, this can turn into a three-wave structure and continue momentum to the downside. The X can be in over here, and this is part of a Y wave to the downside. Okay, is there a chance for the low to be in? We will go and analyze that in a moment. Okay, but it is a place where, you know, when I told the Legends Pro community this morning as well, is that this is a zone where I am definitely looking to long. We've had crazy momentum to the downside. It's just not a zone where I'm looking for shorts at the moment. Was this a shorting zone? Yes, because you should have already entered with your stop above the high. Price moves in your favor. You protect your position. Okay, now it's a free trade. Do you understand the power of protecting your capital? Once you are in a free trade, you can breathe, you can relax. I entered the trade. I had my stop loss where I had supposed to put my stop loss. Price is moving in my favor now at the moment. Now you can breathe. Now you can relax. If you get stopped out, guess what? You don't lose any cash. That's the beauty about protecting your cash, is that it just takes all of that stress off your shoulders. Okay. It's not nice to see that people are in long positions higher up. Okay. And yes, can price get there, back there? There's a possibility. Okay, Legends, let's discuss this little structure. Okay, now this is where it gets very interesting. Okay, now we've gone through the larger time frames, WXY, ABC, contracting diagonals. Can we go down lower? Yes. Okay, what was it? $68,000, 111, 68,111 or 69,111, round about that zone. Okay. There's this chance, okay, there's some traders that's looking at this structure as, let me take the resistance out there, and here we go. Right, let me clean up the chart. For the bulls, okay, it's 3x, so liquidation is far away. Awesome, awesome. So you didn't go crazy with 100x position. Thank goodness, thank goodness. But yes, right. So for the bulls, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you get after a 5-wave structure? You get a corrective structure and you continue to the upside. So there is still a chance for the bulls, as per my live stream on Friday. Okay, it has to be said. Let me just put my face back on the other side. Right, there is still a chance for the bulls for momentum to the upside. But I must be honest that this little low changed the game for me a little bit. Okay, it ever so slightly changed the game. Because if you want to count this corrective structure as an A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the downside, the C wave has to end over here. Now the question is, what is this? You're not allowed to take the low again, which opens up the door to a WXY. So when you have an ABC, you could now have a W. You have an ABC and a W. Now, because you took the low, it could open up the door for an X wave. And then you go down for a Y. So you are basically extending the corrective structure. Okay, you are forming an ABC and W. Maybe this is an A, B, C, and X. It goes up for a C and X, and then it comes back down for a Y. But then this is your 3-wave structure, completing the Y for momentum back to the upside, where you have your 5-wave impulse, you have your 3-wave corrective structure, and then you continue momentum back to the upside. Okay. For this to be the C wave over here, I'm really struggling to count from this little pivot over here. From this little pivot, it's difficult to count a clean 5-wave structure up until this point. It's very difficult, okay? Because this has to be an A, this has to be a B, and then this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is this? So it creates a little bit of confusion, okay? You want the C wave to have found support over here, and then we could have rock and rolled back to the upside. Okay, I just want to see where we are from a timing perspective, okay? Remember, let's do time fib from the low to the high. Okay. Yes, and you know, this is something that I would have highlighted as well, is that this little low was made before the minimum requirement. So for this to be a completed ABC, okay, you want the low to be done or finished after the 0.382. And I can't label this a C wave because it doesn't make sense. It looks more that we are going to extend the corrective structure. It looks like we are going to extend the corrective structure, which is perfectly fine. Then you have a 1 to 1. Perfectly fine to still create another X, another Y, and then you continue. Perfectly fine. Okay. But because of this low, it looks like if this is the bull, okay, I've got my bullish hat on now. If this structure is going to turn out to be a bullish structure where you have formed 5 waves and this becomes a WXY, still expecting upwards momentum to come and claim these highs, okay, you can form a WXY corrective structure that extends the correction, and you now have a 1-to-1 extension, which is perfect. It's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Right, for a shallow ABC here to the downside, A, B, C, which is done, I don't like that the low was made before the 0.382. I also don't like that you now have another low, okay, which makes it very difficult to now count the end over here. But I mean, we need to be prepared, right, legends? If this is the C for whatever reason, okay, I'm just struggling to count the 5 waves here to the downside. If this is the end of the structure, you have an impulse, you have an end, well, then what you expect is upwards momentum. It has to be said that the scenario carries low probability because of the issues that I've just pointed out. Can it happen? Yes, it has a probability. Does it have a high probability? No. Does the low probability scenarios sometimes play out? Yes, they play out sometimes. Okay, 30%, 25% of the times, the low probability scenarios do play out, where some of the structures invalidate some of the rules and they go, right? Okay, so let's take the time fib out. So for the bulls, the low is in, or we are still going to form a larger corrective structure in a WXY. Okay. It's very strange, and this is why I think, you know, for the bulls, if we're still going to find that explosive move here to the upside, it is very strange that we found support from a front running perspective. And this is something that I also discussed this morning with our Legends Pro community. If you switch on your weekly, your daily levels, okay, look at this. Look at where price turned around. It did not tap the daily. It did not tap the weekly level. When you take a fib, okay, very frustrating. This is why I jumped into the long early this morning, because I knew that there's a potential for a front run over here. When you take a fib from the low to the high, okay, we literally tapped the 0.618 to perfection. And we got the bounce here to the upside. But we failed to claim the daily level, and we failed to claim the weekly level. Okay, so in the smaller time frames, when I saw the retracement that I was eyeing and I entered, and now I protected, well, I basically cashed out, okay? I cashed out the trade, right? We're currently getting the rejection where I took profits. But now you see why it's so important for me to take profits at areas where I need to take profits, because you can get the rejection. It can literally fall from here, or you've now done an RS flip, it comes back for a retest and it continues. Okay, and this is where I'll be looking for another long on the week's account. Right. Okay, so in this WXY structure, now that makes more sense because we front run this zone. It is a WXY structure that will tap it properly. And then you get continuation to the upside, break of the trend, maybe $91,000. So this is the bullish case scenario. Okay. For the bulls, there's your scenario. There's definitely a chance that we can find upwards momentum, right? But I think for the bulls, it would make sense to have a larger or a longer corrective structure in a WXY, okay, to come and tap this area properly. So if we do get the rejection, this is the short that I'm looking for, okay, because I'm currently playing this retracement at the moment, but this is the short that I'm looking for. I don't know if we're going to get this high, okay. I think the areas that I need to pay it, well, that I'm paying attention to is, okay, and now I'm switching bearish again, right? What if that WXY is going to play out? The big WXY. What if this is the end and we're building a zigzag to the downside to go and take the low? What if it's the contracting diagonal and this is the fourth wave and it's now building the fifth wave to the downside? There's a chance that this could be an epic short. Okay, so I'm currently trading the momentum here to the upside. I already closed the trade on weeks. I still have one open on Bybit. Right, that's where my larger portfolio lies. And yeah. Okay, so when you take a FIP, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, there is the chance for a larger. Anyways, legends, there are so many scenarios, okay? There's a chance for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but then this is not bullish. Because if you form from this pivot a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will get a three-wave corrective structure and continuation to the downside. So you don't really want this. For the bulls, you don't want this to be 1, 2. You want this to be AB. Okay, so now I'm switching to the bearish case scenario, is to say that, well, what if, okay, let's take this out. This is forming 5 waves to the downside. We have formed a 1, 2, this is all part of 3, we're going up for 4, and then we go and make another low. Now you have formed a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's beautiful. It counts perfect. Beautiful structure. Okay? Where this, whatever we're forming right over here, is part of a fourth wave. The fourth wave does have a invalidation. You take your FIP from the high of 2 to the low of where the structure is now. If price comes up and it taps the 0.618, you invalidate the fifth wave. Okay, then maybe it's that WXY scenario. Okay, because the X can go much higher. Can tap the 0.618, no problem. Right, do you guys see the conundrum? But based on all the scenarios that I have shared, whether this is a WXY, whether this is a contracting diagonal, I'm expecting momentum to the upside to at least the 50% Fibonacci. Perfect confluence with this pivot. Okay, and this is now the momentum that I'm currently trading. But the 50% together with this pivot, the golden pocket over here together with that little pivot, this is where I'm going to be looking for shorts. Maybe it's as simple as it comes back to trend and it rejects by the trend again and it falls down. And that is the perfect entry. Maybe it's going to be that simple. Maybe it's going to fall down by the 50% or the 382 together with this pivot over here. Right? I don't know where it's going to fall down, but I can attempt a short at each level with good risk management. Okay. Right, legends. Just want to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That forms your wave 1. You have an ABC to the upside that forms your wave 2. This now could be 1, 2, and then inside of your third wave you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be A, B, C in your fourth wave, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in your fifth wave. So do you guys see why I was playing the long and why I'm looking for short? Because this fourth wave, X wave, zigzag that could even take the low, I'm expecting a rejection in this zone. Okay. Right, and that is basically, legends, with all the Elliott wave scenarios that I've just gone through, that is basically how I find directional bias. If all the bearish and bullish case scenarios are showing me that we are expecting a retracement, I'm looking for longs. If all the scenarios are telling me that there's a high chance for rejection, that's either going to find support in this zone or go down further. That's where I look for shorts, and I leave some of the position open here for lower levels. Okay, but at every place where I trade, I will have a protected position and I will take profits when I hit support to the downside, because price can turn around over here, and if I don't pay myself, what if the bullish case scenario plays out? I'm waiting for this, it doesn't come, and then price is over here and I didn't pay myself and I got stopped out with no profits. So at the end of the day, regardless of which scenario is going to play out here from an Elliott wave perspective, okay, you long support, you take profits at resistance. You short resistance, you take profits at support. That is how you day trade. And maybe I'm making it more simpler than it really is, okay? But that literally is how simple it is for me, okay? This zone looks really interesting, and I actually want to put a box. Did I put a box in there? Let's see. Maybe I already put the box there. Right, I did put the box there. So, legends, when I clean up the chart, okay, the most important areas for me, and I can take all the scenarios out the way. Okay, let's clean up the chart over here. Joop. Okay, oh, WXY. Okay, let's take this out. Let's take this out, clean up the chart. Okay, for me to apply my trading strategies, it really is as simple as there is massive support in this zone. If price rejects over here and it comes back down, this is an area where I'm going to pay attention. There's a weekly level, there's a daily level. It's the golden pocket when you take a fib from the low to the high. This is the zone. So often what I will do is I will go mark out my zones and say, well, this is an interesting zone with alarms that I'm going to pay attention to. To the upside, okay. I wonder if the VRVP will show it to us. Yes. To the upside, okay, take a fib from the high to the low that we have created, okay. The point of control of this entire range where we have the most amount of volume, okay, this is where I'm going to pay attention when my alarms goes off. Okay, most amount of volume in that area, 50% Fibonacci. A little bit further up between the golden pocket and then 786, it's basically underbelly resistance over here. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this. Resistance, okay. Resistance. And then I clean up the chart. Switch off the VRVP. Take the brushes out. Okay, so if you want to make it simple for yourself, now you know. When price taps this area, I'm going to pay attention. If price taps this area, I'm going to pay attention. If price taps this area, I'm going to pay attention. I'm interested in longs from a support perspective, and I'm interested in shorts from a resistance perspective. If my alarms don't go off, I don't have to stare at the chart the whole time. So now I have my areas of confluence. Okay, Shorting opportunity, shorting opportunity. It corresponds with the most amount of volume. So the most amount of volume was at the 50% and the 786 over here. Okay, I have diagonal resistance. I have horizontal resistance. If price gets really punchy here to the upside, definitely I'm going to be looking for shorts over here. Okay, it's not a high probable chance to have A, B, C, which completed over here. Not a high probable chance. If it breaks out and price is above my area of interest, no short. If price is above my area of interest, no short. I'm only interested in the short if price is below my area of interest. Okay, and if I'm only interested in longs if price is above my area of interest. So it works the other way around. Ooh, did we get the rejection there by the point of control? Look at that, right? Look at that. I'm not sure. Maybe some of the Legends Pro community or someone here in the live stream jumped into the short. Okay, this is where I took profits, right? Can you still get, can you still get, because now you have this support, RS flip. That's happened over here. You broke out. You could still find support where you now successfully do an RS flip and continue momentum to the upside. Okay. I will be looking for a long over here. Okay. You can make money with this little short. I'm not sure if anyone shorted this SFP. This is a classic swing failure pattern. You fail to break above. Okay, you leave that beautiful wick behind, you enter like a sniper, you have your stop above the high, price moves down, you protect your position, and guess what? When you are shorting resistance, you need to take profits when you hit support, because it could bounce or reject. Maybe you leave some of your position open for lower levels, right? Not easy. Let me go through some more comments over here. Okay. Yeah, we talk crypto. Yes, yeah, we talk crypto. Right. Please don't promote your services. Yeah, you can send me an email or send me a comment after the fact in the live stream. Okay, I'm not going to promote. I see sometimes people try and get me to promote their YouTube channels and things like that. I'm not going to promote or take up any services without doing a deep dive due diligence. Right, I don't want my community to get scammed, and also I can't make a service decision here on the live stream. Carl van Grienen, welcome. You sound South African. Hi, Dewald. We also have CME gap 83,900. Yes, we have. I think we have a freshly printed CME gap. Okay, can it get filled? Yes. Do I take it into consideration? No, because the technical analysis that I've just provided here, okay, is most probably going to either close or not close the CME gap. It doesn't matter. I don't trade CME gaps at the end of the day. If it does close, then it closes, but my technical analysis will correspond with why it closed anyways. I'm just not a CME gap trader, guys. I've never believed in it. I don't like them, and usually they correspond with my other technical analysis in any event. I'm looking at volume, I'm looking for areas of rejections. It either closes the gap or it doesn't. We still have many CME gaps on Bitcoin that hasn't been filled. Okay. Right, I missed that long, Dimitri. Well, it's not a place to FOMO in right now. I do see some volume, green volume kicking in at the moment, so it does tell me that maybe momentum can continue to the upside, but I at least want price to come back to support. This is a no long for me as a technical trader. I do not long over here, okay? If price comes back into support, then I'll go, does it show bullish CVD? Okay, does it show me signs of strength? That's what I'm going to look for. If price comes back into the area of interest for me, do I see strength or weakness? At the moment, I still see a little bit of weakness in price, which tells me that it could potentially still continue until it finds support here. Okay. Let me just zoom out ever so slightly. I just want to look at the structure. Let's try this again. Right. I mean, you guys can see. I mean, just looking at price action, okay? Looking at price action, you have support, right? Round about this zone, you have nice support. It struggled, and it popped out. So if price comes back down into this zone and there's bullish CVD building up against this pivot or even these pivots, then I'll consider an SFP from these pivots so that I can get in with good risk management. Okay, but if I see signs of strength over here, I will attempt a long. Maybe it builds a nice little trend and you play the breakout. Okay, but if there's no bullish CVD, I don't see any signs of strength, and every time price makes a retracement, there's bearish CVD. It makes a retracement, there's bearish CVD. I ain't getting into the long. No, okay, no ways that I'm getting in. Right. I'm happy I took profits there on weeks. I still have the trade running on my other account. It is what it is. My position is protected. So if I get stopped out, at least I get stopped out and break even. Right. Egg fart going to move. Massive dump. But Knockstars, massive dump. BTC going to 1K. 1K? You know, that is the time where you sell your house, your wife, your children. You sell everything and you buy Bitcoin. Okay. If it ever goes to 1K. Right. Tomorrow I got exam, I know, except price action. False move, thank you. Have you seen Core? Wow, Core. Are there some altcoins popping at the moment? I mean, who wants to look at altcoins when things are just bleeding to the downside? Okay, on Friday's live stream, I thought, okay, there was a chance for ETH to find support, yeah. Okay. Right, legends, when I highlight, you must just remember, please remember, when I highlight, because I know most of you do, when I highlight an interesting zone, okay, it doesn't mean that you enter with your entire portfolio, close your eyes and hope for the best. Please, guys, that's not what it means, okay? Because there's many ways to get into a trade with good risk management. Look at the beautiful swing failure pattern that happened over here. A beautiful swing failure pattern. You could have longed over here with your stop loss below the low. Price starts moving in your favor. Do you guys understand how powerful the strategy is? You protect your position. You get stopped out at break even. You don't lose cash. That's how powerful the strategy is. You get into a free trade where you just know, well, if it breaks and it runs, it runs. I'm in a free trade. Because if you just enter over here, close your eyes and hope for the best, and you don't practice good risk management, now, you know, you are sweating at the moment, okay? You're now deep underwater at the moment, right? And now you've tapped the 0.88, which increases the probabilities that you're going to come and take this low. So any bounce here is potentially, if you entered over here, and this bounce is potentially for you to exit, okay? To recover some of your cash, get out, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is not a bullish bounce. This is a bearish bounce. Usually what happens is you either continue when you tap the 0.88 to the downside, or what I have seen happen often is that you tap the 0.88, you retrace up until the golden pocket. It can even go as high as the 50%, and then it takes the low. Right. ETH does not look strong here at the moment on the local time frame. Okay, it looks like it wants to come and claim this low over here. AR actually looks much better than ETH. It actually looks way stronger than ETH at the moment. Okay, but it is struggling at resistance. You can see that it has now retested the trend over here. Retested both trends. There's a trend. There's a trend. It literally found support in that little zone where they cross. In the cross, it found upwards momentum, but it rejected at resistance. And do you see how important it is? You long support, you take profits at resistance. Very important. At least pay yourself a little bit. Okay. And right, can AR still find support here at the 786? Definitely. Okay, maybe it continues momentum here, but there's a beautiful pivot where I can get in with good risk management. If it swing failures It trades below, it gets acceptance back above. That for me is a long entry. When you start hitting resistance, I will TP1. Okay, at least TP1. If you're expecting a move like this, at least TP1 when you start hitting resistance. Maybe this is your TP1 over here. Okay, maybe you're going to TP1 over here if you get into this trade. But please do TP at some point. So if it runs, you leave some of the position open and you don't stress. It just runs. Okay, you caught the low. Good for you. If you didn't catch the low and it stops you out, at least you got stopped out with profits. Right, legends, and I might sound like a broken record because I often speak about it, but I can tell you guys now, when things go bad, when you enter a really, really bad position and you don't have a stop loss in place, you're going to remember these conversations. Shit, I should have done what Dewald said. Okay, when things go good and you get lucky, okay, that's when people start ignoring the rules. I don't care what Dewald said. My technical analysis is sound. I'm not going to take profits at resistance. It's going to bounce. Okay. Right. Cool. Legends, that is basically the update for today. AVAX, please. Shall we do a couple of altcoins? Egg fart coin. I'm not going to look. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to look at any meme coins. Okay. Shall we look at some altcoins? Say. Dumpin, AVAX, please. Let's go and have a look at AVAX because I do have an AVAX spot bag. So I'm also curious to see what is Mr. AVAX doing. Is AVAX in my list? Oh, AVAX is in my list. Let's go check it. Let's go check it out. Right. One thing I want to highlight, legends, is that remember, during every single live stream last week and maybe even the week before, I did say it looks like every single altcoin that I'm analyzing needs to make one more low, a proper low, or one more low. But there's a chance that the low could be in. Okay, it's broken trend. You can see it's broken this trend. Maybe it comes back, it retests support, and it continues. And this is why I've also highlighted, and I just want to stress this again so that people don't misunderstand my words. I have attempted some spot positions in the zone for some of the altcoins. Okay, but I did say there is the opportunity for one more low, and then it goes, and I will be buying more, which also tells me that Bitcoin can also still make that one more low. So the altcoins that I've added to my spot bags is that if the low holds and this turns out to be a bullish structure and it creates a WXY and it continues here to the upside, I'm in. I don't have to buy in at higher levels. Okay, but if Bitcoin makes one more low, it gets scary, $68,000, and then it continues here to the upside. That is the one more low that I have continuously been talking about here on the live stream, is that when I look at a coin like AVAX, for example, there's a chance that it can make one more low, but there's also the chance, looking at the structure over here, that it can find support without taking the low. It's broken trend. It looks like it wants to continue to the upside. And yes, it is taking a dump here to the downside, but you have to remember the structure is still bullish until you invalidate it. Okay? You are now at the golden pocket. Maybe it's going to break out, or maybe it's still going to consolidate sideways, and maybe it's going to find upwards momentum. But the maximum target that you want to see here on AVAX to keep the structure bullish is the 786 at $17. If AVAX can manage to hold this zone, maximum target $17 at the 786, there's a chance that this is a bullish structure and it's going to find continuation to the upside. If it taps the 0.88, you increase the probabilities that it's going to come and claim the low and maybe make one more low. And I'm going to be adding to my spot bags in the zone over here. And I want another low. AR is showing me the exact same thing. AVAX is showing me the exact same thing. Link is showing me the exact same thing. Doge is showing me the exact same thing. Their bullish structures allows for more downwards continuation without invalidating the macro bullish structures. Okay. But for me, from a technical perspective, and remember guys, I am not a financial advisor. I am just telling you what I am doing. You need to do your own research. Okay. But here on the larger time frame, on the daily time frame, okay, when I look at some of these structures, right? So taking a fib here from this low to the ultimate high here above, okay, there's a chance that this is a WX, oops, my pen started, WXY. It does not claim the low, and then we rock and roll back to the upside. Okay, this zone for me from a technical perspective is a good spot zone, not a leverage zone. No swing trades. Okay, there's different things that I look at from a swing trading perspective, but this for me is where I'm adding to my spot positions because I'm giving the structure the benefit of the doubt. Even if Bitcoin has made the all-time high and we are in a bear market, okay, I'm still expecting a little bit of a retracement to the upside, which could give us a little bit of a dead cat bounce, of however you want to call it. If I see the weakness in Bitcoin, I might just close these positions entirely. Okay, but I do know that there is a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of fear. I don't have to convince you that there's a lot of fear. There's indicators that show you that there's a lot of fear in the market. The views on my YouTube channel has gone down by 50%. Okay, Andy's channel is down by 50%. Crypto Banter is down by 50%. Everyone's views has gone down. There's no retail in the market anymore because they've been scared away. Bitcoin just keeps on dropping here to the downside. Altcoins are bleeding. So I'm expecting, from a technical perspective, this is what I like to do, is I buy fear. There's fear in the market and I buy the fear in the market. And for me, this is a good zone to buy the fear. Because I can tell you guys now, if it does play out that these altcoins start ripping to the upside, okay, and there are 1,000 people watching this live stream live, okay, or 10,000 people watching the live stream live, all of those people are going to ask me for entries over here, where me and you are going to start taking profits. Because we bought when no one wanted to buy. We bought when there was fear in the market. Okay, it's very bearish at the moment. Look at the what do they call those rates for the import taxes that Trump is now talking about? Like, you know, things are really bad. The Nasdaq looks bearish. The S&P looks bearish. DXY looks like it's finding strength. USDT dominance looks like it wants to continue to the upside. Everything looks bearish. No one wants to buy. That is where I buy. No financial advice. Okay. Is there a chance that these altcoins are just going to dump to the downside? Yes, that's a risk that I'm willing to take. Okay, and I'm not telling anyone to take that same risk. Right, I just like to buy the fear. If there was a lot of greed still in the market, a lot of good sentiment, okay, yeah, I don't like to buy greed, okay. There's enough fear in the market for me to start buying. Is this the low? I have no idea, because no one can catch the top and the bottoms to perfection. Is there a chance that these lows could hold and this turns out to be a WXY impulsive structure to the downside, WXY corrective structure? The rules is at least your Y wave takes the X, you know. So there is many ways in which I can count the structure to still give me a leg to the upside. If it gets invalidated, it gets invalidated, right? Then I was wrong, but I need to give the structure the benefit of the doubt until it gets invalidated. And for now, AVAX looks good inside of this zone. ETH. Okay, let's just look at ETH. Right. Let's take this FIP out the way. Let's look at ETH here on the 4 hour. Let's go into the 8 hour time frame. And this is something that I've spoken about last week as well, okay? Can the low be in for ETH? well, it now looks like it wants to take the low, okay, because it tapped the 0.88. Can the low be in? I mean, it's going to take a miracle for ETH to make an exceptionally bullish bounce and just go and start changing market structure from where it is. Especially if you take a fifth from the low to the high, you've tapped the 0.88. Okay, ETH looks very weak compared to some of the other altcoins. But I did say, guys, that from a WXY perspective, here we go. I am still looking at this target for ETH. I have added a little bit to my spot bags in this zone. Not a lot. I still have ETH from a little bit lower down. Okay, I don't have to add a lot to my spot bags, but this is the zone where I'm very interested in ETH. $1,566 to $1,400. This is a very interesting zone for me on ETH. If I zoom out ever so slightly, okay, whether it's bullish and it's going to claim $10,000, I don't care. But I know that after you've completed a corrective structure in a Y wave, you need, and you also have a 3-wave A, a 3-wave B, and now this is creating a 5-wave, an impulse here to the downside to go and complete your C wave, which completes your Y wave. Even if this is a corrective bounce, a relief rally, a correction to the upside, I can make money with that. If it continues to $10,000, happiness. If it rejects and continue momentum to the downside, I'm looking to take advantage of this move because I know that the C wave is coming to an end. And here is my C wave target at $1,573. Right, so everything for now is still playing out according to plan. Remember to smash up that like buttons, legends. Links for the exchanges that I use is always down in the description. Remember that the week's competition has started. Okay, I have registered for the competition. I've put more money into my week's account so I can move more volume. I've just cashed out $143 in profit, my first trade that I've taken since I put more money into the week's account. And right, you also get 50% deposit back on the money that you deposit in your features account, but you also get 25% discount on your fees. Here's where you register for the competition to come and join the Bitcoin Census team, and we will trade together to grab our share of the prize money. Bluffing is that magic wheel, okay? Every time you move $10,000 worth in volume, which I've done now today, I took a small little weeks trade with $1,000 and I already moved $10,000. It's very easy to move a $10,000 worth of volume. But every time you move $10,000 on Bluffin, you get a spin where you can win some Doge, MacBook Pro, AirPods, lots of prizes over here. And all you need is an email and a password, no documents, okay? And you can start futures trading. Links down in the description. Are you still buying AR? Yes. Yes, I am still buying AR. Let's go and have a look at AR. Let's go look at the structure and see, well, does it have any chance? Okay, is it just going to collapse on itself? You'll see that AR, guys, all the ones there in blue is the ones that I've added recently to my spot bags. Okay, some of them are new and some of them I've just added to existing positions that I have. Okay, so AR, let's go and check it out. Mr. AR, you have to go to the lock scale because you're going to get depressed if you're there on the regular scale. Okay, but what I do like on AR from a larger time frame perspective, okay, is that it is now here by the 786. Okay, currently finding its feet. The bounces look a lot more bullish than Ethereum's bounces at the moment. It almost tapped the 0.88, but I know that the 0.88 increases the probabilities of taking the low, but it's not an invalidation for a bullish structure. This could still be a 1, 2, 3, because from an Elliott wave perspective, the invalidation is taking the low. The invalidation is not tapping the 0.88. All the 0.88 does is that it increases probabilities that you're going to take the low, but it doesn't guarantee it. But it did not tap the 0.88. So there's a chance that AR can still find support to the upside. Okay, I do still have a nice bag of AR, and until the structure gets invalidated, and I mean, legends, I don't have a stop loss here on my spot bag. Okay, how I plan to trade this new crypto, how I personally plan to trade this is that I know when you hit a critical area of support, you usually get a bounce. So if the bullish structure, let's say AR, tanks to the downside, it takes the low, I'm not going to cash out yet. I'm going to wait for the retracement. Because if this bullish structure invalidates itself, I don't like to take losses. Okay, that's what it comes down to. Because I know when you hit critical support like this and you dip below and you get acceptance back above, you could get a nice retracement that forms a lower high and it continues momentum to the downside. So I can still recover majority of my cash, even be in profits. But then my TP zones will change. So instead of taking TPs a lot higher, I will take profits inside of this structure when price starts retracing. But I don't cash out. I change my TP areas. Okay, some hard lessons that I've learned over the years. Oh crap, you have a stop loss, it stops you out, price continues, and then it falls down. And I'm like, my word, I could have made money with that. Why did I take the loss over here? I should have just waited for the SFP, okay, and then pay yourself when you start hitting major resistance. Okay, right, legends. So for now, the structure has not been invalidated. More locally, here on the 1 hour time frame on Mr. AR, okay, it is a token that I am particularly bullish on because the structure has not been invalidated. And even if it gets invalidated, then I'll just lower my TP areas. Is that AR is currently here at the 0.618. It still has a lot of breathing room. Maybe it comes tumbling down and maybe it continues, or it takes the low, maybe it bounces on, there's just, this is the zone where I'm very interested. Okay, Link and Doge are my two favorites at the moment. From a structural perspective, Link and Doge are my two favorites because they have a lot of breathing room to the bottom before they invalidate their structures. Right, legends, thank you so much for watching the live stream. Have a great afternoon, evening and morning from wherever you are from around the world. I've unfortunately run out of time. Remember to smash the like on your way out. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure to subscribe for future notifications. Until the next one, cheers for now.